If you keep being generous with your money the way the world taught you, you're going to end up resentful, invisible, and broke, and the people you try to help will move on like you were never there. Harsh. Yeah. But if a part of you hears that and thinks, damn, that's kind of already happening, then listen closely, because this is exactly what Machiavelli tried to warn people about hundreds of years ago. He said something that sounds cruel on the surface. A ruler should never be too generous with money, not because he hated kindness, but because he understood something most of us don't want to admit. Constant generosity doesn't make people love you. It makes them dependent on you, then bored with you, and eventually angry at you when you can't keep feeding them. You felt this. Maybe you were the person always picking up the tab, lending money to family, covering that KO worker who was short just this once. At first you felt good. You felt like the responsible one, the successful one, the one who had their life together. Then slowly something shifted. It stopped being a thank you and started being an expectation. The thank you so much became, hey, can you just, and you know I'm good for it. And inside you started to feel smaller, used, trapped. Here's the crazy part. The world will call you selfish the moment you stop. That's why this topic is so touchy. Never be generous. Sounds like villain advice. But stay with me. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to be a monster. He was telling you if you don't control how you use money, other people will control you with it. And in the end, they won't respect you for it. They will resent you when the generosity dries up. Let's unpack what Machiavelli actually said, but in plain modern life terms. In The Prince, he talks about liberality, basically generosity. He says, if a leader tries to be known as generous, they'll spend too much, run out of money, and then be forced to tax people heavily or take from them in some other way. The people might praise his generosity at the beginning, but when the bill comes due, they'll hate him for it. He ends up poor, desperate, and unpopular. On the other hand, a leader who is careful with money, who seems a bit stingy, gets criticized at first, but over time, he can defend the country, handle emergencies, and doesn't need to squeeze his people. So, in the long run, they respect him more. Now, you're not ruling Florence. You're dealing with rent. Maybe a mortgage, maybe kids, maybe debts, maybe trying to build a business or crawl out of the hole your 20s put you in. But the principle is exactly the same. If your generosity isn't sustainable, it's not generosity. It's self-sabotage dressed up as kindness. Think about where your money actually goes. Not the big noble stuff people brag about online. I'm talking real life. The cousin who just needs help this month. The friend who always mysteriously forgets their card at dinner. The coworker who loves when you cover the ride share. The coffee. The little don't worry, I got it. Or the relationship where you're the one funding the lifestyle, paying most of the bills, buying gifts to keep the peace so they don't nag, so they stay so conflict doesn't explode. On paper, you're generous. In reality, you're funding their comfort and your own silence. Machiavelli would look at that and say, this is exactly how a good person loses power. You're bleeding out your resources, not on strategy, not on building stability, not on becoming stronger, but on keeping other people temporarily pleased. And the moment you can't do it anymore, they turn. Not always viciously, but coldly. They pull away. They find someone else to latch onto. They complain you changed, and you're left with a smaller bank account and a bigger knot in your stomach. So, what's the alternative? Are you supposed to become a cold, miserly robot who never helps anyone? No. The lesson is sharper than that. Stop using generosity as a way to buy love, approval, or peace. Start using money in a way that protects your power, your future, and your sanity. Be generous, but in a way that's strategic and sustainable. And that starts with something that might sting a little. You need to admit where your kindness is really fear. Fear of conflict, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of losing people, fear of someone being angry with you. You say yes with your wallet because you're scared of what happens if you say no with your mouth. And that is exactly how you get controlled. Let's put this into a simple mental picture. Imagine your life as a castle. Your income, your savings, your investments, your skills, your ability to earn. That's your fortress. Money is one of the walls. It doesn't solve everything. But if those walls are cracked, anyone can walk in and push you around. When you're constantly generous with your money in a chaotic, unplanned way, you are literally taking bricks out of that wall and handing them to other people. Here, take this. I hope you like me. I hope you don't leave. I hope you see I'm a good person. Eventually, your wall is so low that when life attacks, a medical emergency, job loss, market downturn, divorce, whatever, you have nothing to protect yourself. And here's where Machiavelli was brutally honest. People respect strength more than they respect softness. They might like your softness. They might enjoy it, but they feel safer around your strength. They lean on the one who has their own life handled first. So how do you put this into practice without becoming bitter and shutting everyone out? Let's build a few rules, real-world rules you can actually use. First rule, never be generous with money you can't comfortably lose. That sounds obvious, but watch how often you violate it. If helping someone means you can't pay your own bills on time, can't build your emergency fund, can't invest for your own future, you're not being noble. You're making yourself weaker so someone else can feel better right now. That's not honorable. That's unstable. A financially fragile person cannot truly help anyone long term. Your oxygen mask first is not selfish. It's strategic. Second rule, be generous with what costs you little but means a lot to others. And be cautious with what costs you a lot and barely changes their life. Sometimes the best generosity isn't paying their way. It's sharing information, connecting them to an opportunity, helping them think differently, giving them a ride while you're going that way anyway, or spending time listening. Your knowledge, your perspective, your network, your encouragement, those can be priceless, and they don't drain your bank account. Third rule, if your generosity is invisible, it didn't build leverage. This sounds cold, but I want you to really think about it. Machiavelli understood that public perception is everything. If you are going to give, and it's a big sacrifice, at least make sure it clearly establishes a boundary and a story. This is special. This isn't the norm, and it has a purpose. For example, instead of secretly paying someone's debt over and over, you might say, "I'll help this one time so you can reset, but I need you to handle it differently going forward because I can't be your safety net." You're not just handing over money, you're defining reality. You're saying this is an exception, not your new job description. Fourth rule, don't fund laziness. If someone's pattern is bad decisions, constant crisis, no effort to change, your money won't fix that, it will deepen it. Think back. Is there someone in your life who always seems to be in some drama? Always almost out of it, but not quite. You've maybe given a loan or 2 or 7. They promise the same thing every time. This is the last time, I swear. You want to believe them because you care, but patterns don't lie. Machiavelli would tell you bluntly, you're not helping them, you're rewarding their lack of discipline. Real help has accountability attached. Fifth rule, never. Let generosity replace hard conversations. It's easier to throw money at a problem than to say, "No, I'm not okay with how this is going." You pay to keep the peace. You buy the nice gift instead of addressing the distance in the relationship. You cover the rent instead of saying, "We need a different plan." You pay for the weekend away instead of dealing with how tired and resentful you've become. That's not kindness, that's avoidance with a price tag. So, how do you shift out of this? It's not as simple as just say no because you're not dealing with a logic problem. You're dealing with identity. For years, you may have seen yourself as the reliable one, the provider, the one everyone can lean on. There's a kind of pride in that, a comfort. You might even feel invisible in other areas of life. But here, when you give, you feel seen. People need you. Your phone lights up. Your opinion matters. Pulling back can feel scary. Who are you if you're not constantly rescuing people? Here's a better identity to grow into. The person whose life is so stable, strong, and well-managed that your presence changes lives more than your wallet ever could. The friend who tells you the truth. The parent who provides structure and wisdom, not just cash. The partner who helps grow a shared future, not just pay for a present illusion. The colleague who shares insight and opens doors, not just covers the bill at lunch. Let's zoom in on a few real-world situations and walk through what Machiavellian generosity would look like. Imagine you're at work. You make decent money, not crazy rich, but you're okay. A coworker knows you're good with money. They start joking. "You got this round, right?" At first you shrug and say, "Sure, it's just coffee." Then it's lunch. Then they forget their wallet. Twice. Then when the group goes out, everyone subtly looks at you when the bill comes. You feel this tension. If you don't offer, you feel cheap. If you do offer, you feel used. Old, you laugh it off. Pay. Complain about it in your head, or later to a friend. New you. You break the pattern calmly. Next time the bill comes, you let the silence sit for a second. Then you say something simple like, "I've covered a lot lately. I'm just doing my share today." That's it. No big speech. You're redrawing the line. If someone pushes, "Oh, come on, you always got us," you smile and say, "Yeah, and that was cool, but I'm tightening things up. We can just split it." You'll feel a little awkward, sure, but notice what you're doing. You're refusing to buy their approval. You're asking them to treat you as an equal adult, not an ATM. Now, picture a family situation. A sibling is always in financial trouble. Always. They call you stressed, embarrassed, maybe crying. "I just need help with this one thing." You've helped before. You felt the guilt when you say no, so you often say yes. But afterward, you're worried about your own accounts. You lie awake thinking, how is this my life? Why is this my responsibility? Old you, send money, push down the resentment, hope it sticks this time. New you respond with empathy, but also structure. I'm sorry you're going through this. I can't keep bailing you out financially, but I'm willing to sit down with you and go through your budget. Maybe help you look at what needs to change. If you choose to help you put conditions, I can cover this one bill, but we're also going to set up a plan. So I'm not your emergency fund. I need my own finances to be solid too. Notice how different that is. You're still a good person. You're still supportive. You're just refusing to sacrifice your fortress for someone else's leaky boat. Another scenario, dating or relationships. Maybe you've been the one paying most of the time. Maybe you feel like you have to, or they expect it. If you're okay with it and it fits your values and budget, fine. But be honest, do you ever feel that quiet resentment? That voice that says, if I stopped paying for all this, what would be left between us? If the connection is built on your spending, it's not a connection. It's a contract they never sign but happily benefit from. New you use money to reveal the truth sooner. Suggest more low-cost activities. Notice how they react if you say, let's do something simple this weekend. Notice their face when you say, hey, can we split this one? If their interest drops the moment your wallet closes, better to see that early than after you've poured thousands into a lifestyle you can't sustain. Now there's an uncomfortable reality we have to talk about. People will be annoyed when you change. Some will be confused. Few might even be angry, especially the ones who benefited most from the old you. Machiavelli said it very clearly. When you reform something, the ones who lose their special advantages will fight you harder than the people who gain from it will praise you. Applied to money, it means the people who were used to your generosity will protest the loudest when you stop. Don't take that as a sign that you're wrong. Take it as confirmation that you finally stopped playing the role they wrote for you. Here's something powerful you can do right after hearing this. Audit your generosity like a strategist, not like a guilty caretaker. Grab a mental list of the last, say, 10 times you gave money or paid for something meaningful for someone else. Not bills, not your normal obligations. Extra generosity. Now ask yourself a few questions about each one. Did this gift or loan create progress or just reset them to zero? Did I feel stronger or weaker after doing it? Was I trying to avoid a hard conversation by paying? Is this becoming a pattern? Does this person show gratitude and responsibility or entitlement and excuse them? You'll start to see it. Some of those moments were beautiful and worth every dollar. Others were you trying to buy peace or love or time. Those moments are where you need to reclaim your power. And I want to validate something, because this can easily turn into self-blame. If you recognize yourself in this, it doesn't mean you're stupid or weak. It means you care. It means somewhere along the way you learned that your value comes from solving other people's problems, usually at a cost to yourself. Maybe your parents modeled that. Maybe you grew up with chaos and decided, I'll be the one who holds everything together. Maybe people praised you for being generous, responsible, mature for your age, and you internalized that if you stop giving, you stop being good. The truth is much simpler. Good people have limits. Healthy people have budgets. Strong people say no. And if anyone leverages your kindness against you, they were never respecting you in the first place. So where does generosity fit in now? Are you really supposed to never be generous? Here's the twist. You should almost never be generous impulsively with money, but you should be deeply generous intentionally with your life. Generous with your attention when you're with your kids instead of drowning in your phone. Generous with your wisdom when someone genuinely wants to grow. Generous with encouragement to the friend who's actually trying to improve. Generous with your forgiveness when someone truly owns their mistakes. And yes, financially generous too. But as an investor, not a savior. When you give money, do it in ways that align with your values and your long-term stability. Giving to a cause you believe in. Great. Helping someone who has proven over time that they're responsible and just hit a rough patch. Wonderful if it fits your budget. Supporting your partner while they go back to school and you have a clear plan. That's partnership, not martyrdom. Machiavelli's real warning isn't never give. It's don't let your desire to be seen as generous strip you of the very resources that allow you to live freely. A prince who empties the treasury to look like a hero ends up begging or stealing. A modern adult who empties their accounts to look like a hero ends up exhausted, resentful, and quietly terrified every time their phone buzzes with a new bill. Ask yourself this. What would change if for the next year you decided that your main job is to become financially unshakable? Not Instagram rich, not showing off, just unshakable, money in the bank. No random obligations you never agreed to, clear boundaries, no mystery subscriptions to other people's drama. It would probably mean a few people get less from you in the short term. But it also means that when the people you truly love need you in a real crisis, in a way that matters, you actually have the capacity to step up without collapsing. That's the trade we're talking about. Short-term approval versus long-term power. Endless coffee and lunch tabs versus real financial safety. Keeping people happy versus building a life you're not constantly stressed about. If a part of you is thinking, okay, this all sounds right, but I'm scared to start, that's normal. Start small. The next time someone hints that you should pay, pause for 2 seconds longer than you normally would. Let that tiny silence exist. See what they do. The next time someone asks for money in a way that feels off, say, I'm not able to do that, but I hope you find a way through. The first time you say a clean no, you'll feel messy inside. It's fine. You're rewiring years of people-pleasing. It won't feel smooth at first. Over time, something interesting happens. The people who only valued you for your generosity will fade. Let them. The people who actually value you as a person will adjust. They might tease you a little, test the boundary, but they'll stay. And you'll start to feel your spine again. You'll check your bank account and feel less anxiety. You'll make choices in your own life, not controlled by who might need to borrow next month. And eventually, when you do decide to be generous with money, it will actually feel good again because it's coming from a place of choice, not obligation. You'll pick your moments. Paying for your parents' dinner because you've hit a milestone and you want to celebrate them. Giving a painful but meaningful gift to someone who really needs a hand up, not a handout, and has proven they'll use it well. Investing in your kids' future. Donating to something that speaks to your soul. That's real generosity. Quiet, leveled, powerful. It doesn't destroy your fortress. It's built from the surplus of it. So when you hear the phrase never be generous in this context, translate it like this. Never let generosity be the reason you're weak. Never let money given out of fear steal the future you're trying to build. Never let your need to be seen as a good person override the responsibility to be a strong person. You deserve a life where your kindness isn't a weapon used against you. You deserve to be respected, not for how much you can give away, but for how well you've built and protected what you have. That's what Machiavelli was really warning you about. Not that generosity is bad, but that uncontrolled generosity is a trap. So the next time your hand moves toward your wallet out of reflex, pause for just a moment and ask yourself, am I doing this from strength or from fear? If the answer is fear, you already know what to.